Far-left Democrat, socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani making history for all the wrong reasons, confirming that he will not attend Sunday's Israel Day parade, the first New York City mayor to skip this event since it started in 1964. Fox News' Eric Shawn is live from New York City with more. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Jackie. How are you? Well, you know, it is a New York City tradition. No mayor has missed it since it started back more than 60 years ago. Well, that is until now. Mayor Zohran Mamdani refusing to march in the Israel Day parade that will happen this coming Sunday. You know, the celebration up Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, it happens to be the largest gathering of Israeli and Jewish supporters in the world. And it is customary and tradition since 1964 that the Big Apple's mayor takes part in it. But Mamdani is boycotting the festivities because of his opposition to Israel. He is the city's first Muslim mayor and an outspoken supporter of the Palestinian cause. He says he will not take part.
I said on the campaign trail that I wouldn't be attending the parade, and I've made my views on the Israeli government abundantly clear. And I also said on that same campaign that I would have a responsibility as the mayor of the city to ensure the safety and security of each and every New Yorker.
His absence comes amid a skyrocketing number of anti-Semitic incidents and attacks in New York City and across the nation. Well, former New York State Assemblyman Dov Hikind, who now heads the group Americans Against Anti-Semitism, says Mamdani boycotting the parade sends the wrong message. And Hikind worries about Jewish New Yorkers because of the mayor's stance.
Things are out of control in New York in terms of Jew hatred. What happened in Midwood recently, in Manhattan, ongoing, the numbers of just keep on increasing, and Mamdani is part of the problem.
Well, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, she happens to be Jewish. She will represent the administration in the parade. She is one of the honorary grand marshals. Tisch says that, quote, it's the mayor's decision not to march, but says it is my decision to march proudly. Jackie.
Eric Shawn, thank you so much. Great to see you as always. All right, let's listen to this.
Are they prepared to shoot us?
All I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down, yes.
Memo to Elon Musk. 9 million veterans are watching you. 9 million veterans are watching you give them the middle finger. And we're not going to stand for it.
Organizing, mobilizing, agitating. We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi netball baby.
Okay, so after Democrats protested Doge and even appeared to call for violence against Elon Musk for his role at the Department of Government Efficiency, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, what does he do? He just announces that he's going to copy Elon Musk and Doge.
We are instead delivering on something that we know many New Yorkers and frankly many Americans care about, which is government efficiency. Now, Elon Musk manipulated the fact that so many people across this country want to see a government that is more efficient. He used that as a justification to simply slash and burn so much of the services that Americans rely on. Ours is going to be a focus on actually delivering efficiency, not as a byword for cutting services, but actually a sincere commitment to efficiency. And we firmly believe not only in closing the last chapter of city government, but in starting the new one. The proposals that Code will be looking at will be ones that we view as critical to unlocking the full potential of city government.
Okay, sure, Mamdani, you're going to deliver efficiency after you took $4 billion for your budget from Kathy Hochul because you can't make the numbers meet, but I digress. So the mayor attacking Elon Musk's Doge initiative, but then insisting that his version of Code will be better. Sound familiar? Joining us now from House Judiciary, Florida Congresswoman Laurel Lee. Great to have you with us, Congresswoman. The Democrats, are they going to pretend that they've been on board with cutting wasteful spending, worrying about fraud the whole time? They want to be more efficient, but of course they don't want to cut services that you need out there.
It is remarkable to hear one of the most progressive mayors in America all of this sudden see the light and start talking about government efficiency, which Republicans have been talking about for years. Because the reality is he's seeing what we're all seeing, and that is that the American people have had enough of waste, fraud, and abuse, and expect that their tax dollars are actually going to be dedicated to real services for actual people who are in need. But it really is, the difference here is this. First off, President Trump and Elon Musk, they were willing to make the hard decisions. They were willing to take a hard look at government and see what programs weren't working, see what things had run their course or were no longer necessary or were redundant. And that's what we'll have to really look at in New York. The rhetoric is nice, but does Mayor Mamdani actually do anything to cut the size of government? His budgeting and his policy proposals certainly seem to suggest that he's headed in the opposite direction.
Yeah, my guess also is he doesn't do a single thing. But business leaders in New York City, CEOs here, they've been criticized recently for their interactions with him. Take a listen to JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon telling Maria Bartiromo about his recent meeting with Mamdani. Watch this.
I had a great meeting with Mamdani, meaning it was pleasant, but I said everything I wanted to say. I've seen mayors grow into the job. I mean, he's running a city of 300,000 employees now. He's never had a job like that. I've seen mayors who they fail abysmally because they can't administer themselves out of a paper bag, or ideology blinds them to practical, realistic, real-world policy. I think good policy is free. I feel like telling the politicians, don't try to raise more taxes or spend more money. Sit down and fix policy.
So the criticism of Jamie Dimon and somebody like David Solomon from Goldman Sachs is that they weren't tough enough on him when they were in the room, because they do have power here as business leaders and all the revenue generation that they bring into this city. But the mayor has some responsibility here, too, because he's got to repair a fractured relationship with these big business owners. Do you think that he can do it?
Well, I do think sitting down and having that congenial conversation is important, and it's the right place to start. You're absolutely right. They have tremendous power in this conversation and in this relationship, because New York needs that investment. It needs those jobs. It needs that economic activities that they bring. And, Jamie Dimon actually made one of the most important points, which was this, that they're not tethered to New York. We see many businesses that are relocating. They can look at places like Florida, like Texas, and ultimately they will if New York doesn't keep itself a place where it makes sense for them to continue to do business.
Yeah, you make a lot of sense. And we're showing the video of Zohran Mamdani when he's standing in front of Ken Griffin's apartment in New York City, basically doxing him and pointing the finger at him for not paying his fair share. So that just kind of gives you a sense of how the mayor looks at the world. Congresswoman Lee, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
It was great to see you.
Now listen to this.
What I've learned is I actually don't want celebrities to come out and endorse me. I don't want anybody to endorse me except for the moms and the animal lovers in LA. I actually love when the celebrities attack me, because then I'm like, oh, I am doing so well.
Los Angeles mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt saying he doesn't need celebrity endorsements in his fight to bring his common sense agenda to Los Angeles, because he's got the support of real residents in that city. Coming up, former Trump White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley takes on the razor-thin race ahead of Tuesday's mayoral primary. But first,
he was the essence of the same Joe Biden, but yeah, he was slowing down. He was getting older. I mean, we all observed that. I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
So that's the former First Lady Jill Biden finally admitting what we all knew for years. There were some major concerns about Joe Biden after that disastrous 2024 debate performance. But her recent comments to promote her new memoir are being slammed by fellow Democrats who say the Bidens are only hurting the progress of their party. Next, GOP Congressman Michael Rulli reacts. Stick with us. Much more to come.
She knows so long as she was denied.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
After I signed the PAC Act into law, I handed the pen that I signed it with, was the tradition of the most responsible for the legislation.